Morning, good afternoon, good evening, Notre Dame fans, whenever you are tuning in to this week's Notre Dame football recruiting update. Appreciate you guys for being a part of this week's show, whether you're watching live, watching back, or listening to this as a podcast. It is February 7th. This is usually a slower time of the year, traditionally, but not really since like coaches move and whatnot. So much more than in years past, I feel like. So we have a move to discuss today that did not happen in James Blanchard, the Texas Tech general manager, who visited Notre Dame last week. I feel like we're talking about a recruit. Notre Dame definitely recruited him. Didn't work out, and we're going to talk about that in this show today. Folks, please hit the thumbs up on this video. If you're watching on YouTube, of course, subscribe to the channel for more content. If you're listening via podcast, appreciate you as well. Please leave us, a 5-star review, and let us know why you're leaving a 5-star review in the review. So, yeah, again, folks, the news being James Blanchard expecting to stay at Texas Tech. He's not taking the Notre Dame job. And this has been like stamped. Like Texas Tech tweeted it out. He's staying. It was released his salary or his 3-year deal, making $1.5 million through the 3 years. That's the total value. So that is the update. Texas Tech GM James Blanchard will not be taking the same position at Notre Dame, which I can tell you guys, this thing was all but done. Like it was, to use recruiting terms, Kyle, there was a verbal commitment in place between the two parties, and Blanchard backed out and really citing, not him citing it, but from sources, from what we were told at Blue and Gold and from what On3's Pete Nakos has put out, it's like he wanted to stay close to home. This very much feels like a high school recruiting battle that Notre Dame lost. Like when you follow this thing, the longer it dragged out, it was just like, man, Notre Dame is not going to win this one. And that's what happened, Kyle.
Yeah, I guess you can chalk this up in terms of the win-loss column as a loss, but my whole thing here is I don't really agree with the reaction of Notre Dame fans, how they are
Some of
acting
them.
like, yes, some of them, how they are acting like, this is just a major loss for the program and, Notre Dame really missed it and, they did something wrong. Like no one knew, like no Notre Dame fan knew about James Blanchard 2 weeks ago, and no one still knows about this guy. Like obviously he was Marcus Freeman's top target. Marcus Freeman courted him 2 years ago to be the director of player personnel and now the GM job. But still, outside that, if you're a Notre Dame fan, you don't know anything about James Blanchard's career really, and especially not intimately. And I know Notre Dame fans are going to take it a little bit personal when, someone declines to go to Notre Dame. But, like, these are real people. They have real life problems. They have
Yeah.
real families. James Blanchard has been in Texas basically his entire life outside of a stint with the Carolina Panthers. He has 5 kids. I'm pretty sure he's got a wife. Like he's very entrenched in Texas. Like that's where he is. And yes, I know Notre Dame was throwing the money, and let's make no mistake about it. Notre Dame on your resume is going to look more important and more attracting than Texas Tech. But I mean, this guy's got 5 kids. Can you imagine trying to move all your 5 kids to South Bend, Indiana, somewhere you've never been? Like there was obviously some personal things going on here. And then just kind of looking at it from a pure football and recruiting standpoint, I know personnel people and, people, let me say, more tuned in than me, um, hold this guy in pretty high regards. And I know even some folks at On3, like Cody Belair, national scout, who has maybe worked or at least knows
Yeah, they work
James
together.
Blanchard. Yeah, I mean, he called James a top 5, GM or player personnel guy in the business. But just let me put the statistics out there, just so we can know what this guy did at Texas Tech. He got there in August of 2022, so his first recruiting class would be 2023. That class ranked 28 in the country. 2024 was they were 23rd in the country, and in 2025 they were 43rd. And I won't, I'll save our viewers and listeners some time from going and trying to look where Texas Tech was in the recruiting rankings before Blanchard arrived. They were in the 40s, 50s, a little bit of 60s, right around kind of, just slightly above average when you look at the 130 so teams in the FBS, and probably a little average when you stack them up against Power 5 schools. And I know Texas Tech just became a Power 5 school recently, but anyway, like when you're talking, at least I know that's kind of this way in the NFL, and like with franchise quarterbacks, like usually year 3 is like your defining year. Like if you remember, so much was being made of the year 3 of the Marcus Freeman era. Obviously that became a national championship team, but year 3 of the Blanchard era at Texas Tech, at least in the personnel department, his recruiting class finished 43rd. So obviously
to his defense, the number 1 transfer portal class, though. So
right.
Top 30 at Texas Tech is like top 10 at Notre Dame. Like if you get to the top 30 at Texas Tech, like that's pretty damn good. So just want to throw that out.
Yes, absolutely. No, I agree. But this isn't Bill Polian. This isn't Bill Belichick, or I don't know what other outstanding GMs are out there. I know the guy at the Eagles, Howie Roseman, he's impressive. Some of the other GMs, obviously Blanchard has done a heck of a job down there in Lubbock, but I think Notre Dame fans just got to cool the jets a little bit, at least some Notre Dame fans, about chalking this up as just some program defining and program shifting loss. Like, Mike, you know this just as well as I do. This Notre Dame job is pretty coveted.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of guys countrywide lining up to take it. So
yeah,
I don't think Marcus Freeman and company are going to have any trouble finding a qualified candidate.
Yep. They're not losing sleep at night right now. It's okay. People are okay in the Goog. Like everything is just fine. Here, okay, a couple more things, because I think it's really easy to do one of two things. You either freak out right now, oh man, Notre Dame's not paying money. No, it was not a money thing. Like I think the incentives, maybe he could have got more at Texas Tech, but like the base salary, from what I understand, it is more at Notre Dame. Like Notre Dame is offering more of a base annual salary, like significantly. So it wasn't a money thing. So the freak out that you're talking about, but also the other side of it, just that this is an absolute nothing burger. We could do a lot better. Like you just don't know. You really don't know. If Notre Dame hires their new GM and it's a train wreck, then you look back on losing a Chad Bowden, not getting a James Blanchard, and it's a lot bigger deal. So it's just a very much we'll see. You don't know who's next. Just like when Notre Dame loses Chad Bowden and James Blanchard emerges as the top target, it seemed, again, like I said earlier, it seemed all but done. It's like, oh man, this is an upgrade. Everyone's like, oh, this is an upgrade. But then now he's not coming, and it's like, he's not, whatever. And so we'll see. We will see who the new guy is or girl. We'll see who the new person is. Swan Dong drops $2 on us, $2, and wants to know like the two most pressing questions right now. Who's the next target? And also any word on running backs coach. Okay, Swan Dong. Okay. Don't know and don't know. There you go. Go to blueandgold.com. Subscribe there. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, Swan Dong, for $2 super chat. I don't know if you would have dropped 20, what I would say, but who's the next target? It's our understanding that they're going to take their time. And for running back, that news dropped 2 days ago. Like that process is just starting. There's nothing really concrete out there whatsoever. Jack Sobel did a really good job putting out some names that make sense, but that's really it. That's really it. So, yeah.
I'll make this comment about the running backs coach that, let's just say a couple years ago, I talked to a very highly respected and highly paid running backs coach in college football, and I was told how much of a coveted job that is, the running backs coach position at Notre Dame. So just like people lining up to fill the general manager role at Notre Dame, they are not going to have any problem,
The
especially with the running backs in the room, getting someone to South Bend to coach them.
yeah. Um, yeah, and if you look at Notre Dame, when people leave Notre Dame, look at like what they're doing in their next jobs. Like Deland, I dropped the nugget on the message board, and talking about what he's making in the NFL. Let's just say a lot, and people in that industry, everyone knows, like everyone talks. So like if you go to Notre Dame and you're on a Notre Dame team that does well, it's going to work out for you in the long run. So yes, people want to work at Notre Dame, especially when it's the running backs job, where you have Jeremiah Love and I mean, goodness gracious, that room is loaded with Jay Love, with Price, Aeneas, Nolan James coming in. You know, see what Jabran Payne looks like, but he's a talented back. It's a loaded room, so that is really really impressive. So
One
yeah,
final thought, Mike.
yeah. Go ahead.
It's not just that people, I mean, they obviously want to work for Notre Dame and for what that means and what Notre Dame stands for. Everyone wants to work for Marcus Freeman. So many people love Marcus Freeman in the industry. And that's why I have full confidence that whatever departures take place, I think Notre Dame's going to be, not only are they willing to pay, but the type of candidates they're attracting just because they want to work for Freeman it's going to be pretty impressive, I think.
Yeah, and Kedron Young, Frank mentions in the running back room, of course. Folks, check out rowback.com for the best fit, best feel. If you're not familiar with Rowback, they're completely changing the game with their incredibly comfortable activewear, and they have a licensed game day collection that is incredible with their excellent polo designs, like really nice hoodies. I'm telling you, these just feel and fit fantastic. For your Notre Dame Fighting Irish, these 5 items that you can get on rowback.com right now. I highly recommend. I have 3 of the 5, hoping to add the latter 2 to my wardrobe eventually. You definitely want to check it out, rowback.com. And their everyday shorts are the perfect pairing as well as we get into springtime soon. They have like an elastic waistband and great fabric that is made to have the appearance of a nice short, but the comfort of an athletic short. And Rowback has been proudly leading the NIL charge, having signed partnerships with past Notre Dame stars Audric Estime, Kyle Hamilton, Michael Mayer, Riley Leonard, and Ben Morrison. It stings saying former Notre Dame athlete Ben Morrison, but yeah, dude's going to ball out in the NFL. So Rowback is the go-to brand for college athletes, and use the promo code BlueGold20 on Rowback for a generous 20% off for all new customers. That's rowback.com, RHOBACK.com. 20% off all performance polo shorts and more with code BlueGold20. Let's see. New prediction time, Kyle. Logged one. I feel like we haven't logged a new prediction here in a while. So Kadon Finley from Aledo, Texas. The son of Jermichael Finley, who played in the NFL for several years as a tight end with the Green Bay Packers. And, you know, the Texas Longhorns is where he went to school. And the Texas is very much in pursuit of Mr. Finley here, who ranks as the nation's number 98 overall player, number 18 wide receiver. This is according to the 2026 On3 industry ranking. Finley was at Notre Dame for Junior Day, and he has taken 3 visits to Notre Dame. And this On3 visit center says 3 to Texas. There's no way. I mean, lifetime, I'm sure he's taken a lot more than 3 visits to Texas, and I would imagine there's been some unreported ones as well. And I really, Kyle, think this recruitment is coming down to those 2 schools. And I get the sense in talking to sources that Finley is someone who is going to make an earlier decision. I just don't see this recruitment going the distance, or I would be surprised even if it was a summer official visit thing. Like I could see it being like a spring commitment. And right now, I believe Notre Dame. No, like, look, you guys know I don't do predictions for silent commitments unless there's like a really unique circumstance or something. But I do like Notre Dame to land Kate on Finley. Is it a done deal? It's definitely not. Again, I actually had a few Texas reporters hit me up, like talking about the pick, and they're like, "Hey, like just trying to pick my brain on is this done or not." And I told them what I just told you guys. Like, no, it's not done. Like, I don't. Again, I don't do those predictions. It's a projection, and all of them were like, "Yeah, we can see it. We can see it." Or like, "Yeah, it's Texas Notre Dame. We could see it Notre Dame, but naturally, some Texas people think it's going to go to Texas. Notre Dame thinks Notre Dame, but I'll be honest. I think it's going to be Notre Dame. What do you think, Kyle?"
It surprised me when you put this pick in just because he is a Texas legacy.
Oh,
And
it surprised you when I put in Tyler Merrill as well.
It
How'd
did,
that go?
yes. No,
I'm just
yeah.
giving you a hard time.
No, I know, but you are predicting a hell of a
Mm.
wide receiver class to Notre Dame right now with
Yeah, I might need to change one of those.
3 big-time 4-star guys, Connor Salmon, Trent Mosley, and Gain Finley
All right,
being the most
all right.
recent one.
Hold on. Let me interrupt you. The Salmon and Mosley ones were last August picks, right? Salmon, I'm like, I think Notre Dame's in his top 3. Mosley, I don't know, man. That recruitment is just so like silent. It's like you can't get much out of Trent Mosley. And he's a double Notre Dame legacy. Both of his parents played sports for the Fighting Irish. His older brother Emmett picked Stanford over Notre Dame, and I think Trent Mosley's going to end up picking between Notre Dame and USC, and the Chad Bowden being out there certainly makes it more interesting.
Yeah, Tim Hyde and I got in a little scuffle on the message board earlier this week about Chad Bowden being to USC or going to USC, and Tim's point was, what did Chad do here? He had some solid recruiting classes and all that, but my whole point was that with Chad being out there to USC, it's just not going to get any easier recruiting those guys. I mean, we know how outstanding of a recruiter Chad Bowden is. Like
the anti-Chad Bowden thing, it's like, guys, we all loved him when he was here, and now he's gone, and it's just like, oh, well, what did he really do? That's fine. You talk to people in the building, it's a loss. Like people, like it's you can recover from it. I'm on one today. You can recover from it. The sky's not falling. But Chad did a ton for Notre Dame. Like from 2022, like the 2022, 23, 24 classes, a lot of that had to do with Chad Bowden. Now the 22 class, he's just a defensive director of recruiting. But when Freeman became head coach, he helped keep that class together, right till signing day. But and then the recruiting class rankings thing, Kyle, I want to pull that up and I want to talk about that for a minute after you're done with your spiel here.
Can I plant my flag real quick?
Yes.
Notre Dame does not win arguably the most impressive recruiting victory of the Marcus Freeman era with Madden Framo over USC coming out of Jacera Catholic there in SoCal without Chad Bowden. I think Chad Bowden's relentlessness won that recruitment. His effort in that one. I mean, Notre Dame, before Madden Framo visited Notre Dame in April of 2024, the Irish made his top 4 in the winter and all that, but they weren't really a big contender. I don't think Madden Framo was really looking at Notre Dame as being a potential destination going in, early last year at this time. And I think Chad Bowden's persistence in that recruitment to the point where, I mean, Mike, we all remember coming off that USC official visit at the end of November. I mean, everybody had Framo pegged to USC. And Chad Bowden and, obviously the rest of the coaching staff as well, but primarily Chad Bowden kept scratching and clawing. And the reason I'm talking about this, because I just wrote about it, that's going to appear in our magazine. the Recruiting Issue magazine, released in February, and I was writing about Freeman's recruitment. But Madden, the day of signing day on December 4th, that morning, he still didn't have a decision made up. Chad Bowden just kept fighting and clawing. And I know Madden Framo said he chose God, but I think, Chad Bowden put a divine worthy effort to getting Framo to sign with Notre Dame.
Sorry, my mic is muted. Yeah, Chad did a great job at Notre Dame, but I mean, there's things that like Blanchard, like with Blanchard having an NFL scouting background, like Chad doesn't have that. So there's like pros and cons to everyone. I want to look at this real quick because there is Chad, like they just had the number 12 recruiting class in the country. Let's look at all of Brian Kelly's classes and compare it to Marcus Freeman's classes. Okay. 2010 ranked 10th. Now we're not going to count this because Brian Kelly got there. Like he was on the staff for like a couple months. It's not a full recruiting class. We're not even going to count that. 11th, because I feel like with Kelly, it's like, he it was like 6 to 12. I was talking to Tom Lemming yesterday, and he was like, "Oh yeah, Brian Kelly usually signs number 6 to 12." I'm like, maybe that's per Lemming's own rankings, but when you look at the On3 industry, which this is using, before On3 was launched in August 2021, so these industry rankings are just from Rivals, 247, and ESPN. Okay. So 2011 was the 11th class. 2012, 12. 2013, the outlier, the number 4 class. Really good class. 2014, 11th. 2015, 12th. 2016, 14th. 2017, 15th. 2018, 11th. 2019, 14th. 2020, 18th. 2021, 12th. There's one top 10 class that entire time, right? One, the 2013 class. So now you look at enter Freeman. Well, yeah, I mean, okay, we'll give them 2. If we're using that same logic, we're gonna get. I mean, that's kind of like half. Like both kind of get credit for the number 6 class in 2022, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, Freeman brought up that whole defensive class. I guarantee you, if you scroll through the commit list, all those top guys are mostly gonna be defenders.
All right, so let's actually do that. Sneed, Freeman guy. Wagner went to Freeman's high school. Tyson Ford is a Freeman guy. Josh Burnham, a Freeman guy. Billy Strouth, Notre Dame closed on him after Kelly left. Right? Does that sound right?
Yeah, no, it is.
I think so. Tobias Merriweather, Tanona Raridan. So, but your highest ranked guys that we just went through, your highest 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 were all Freeman. So let's just call that one a wash. No one gets credit for the 22 class for this exercise. 2023 class was 10, 24, 11, 25, 12. It's if you average it, it's I would guess Freeman's classes are a little bit better, right? Because with Kelly at an 18, a 14, they're similar on paper, right? They're similar on paper. But that 2013 class that went number 4 in the country, a lot of those guys were on the 2016 team. Let me just throw that out there. So a long way to say, a very long way to say. Data points, right? Data points. Recruiting rankings are data points. So I don't know. There's just so much up in arms right now. Everyone's lost their minds. We're not even talking about the championship season anymore. It's just about this guy leaving. He didn't have an impact. New guy is coming in. He's the best. But now we're not getting him. So, he's no good. It's like, I don't know, man.
Mike, I just did the math. So was Kelly's first class 2010? Is that what you said?
No, 11. His first full class was 11.
Okay, let me see here. 11. So, okay, yep, I did this right. The average class under Kelly was 12.5. And average under Bowden and Freeman was 11. So Notre Dame moved
Big
up
step up.
Spot and a half.
Big step.
Spot and a half.
A long way to say a big, a small step up. But yeah, shorter sample size, but recruiting has also changed a ton. So, anyways, we'll move on. I don't know how we got there, but after talking about Kid on Finley, but here we go. All right, Mr. Kelly, shall we? Oh, crap! I just closed out all of my bookmarks. Give me a second. All the things I just had pull up to share on the screen. Okay, there we go. So Notre Dame has look. The show just keeps on going. While Notre Dame doesn't have a GM, they still have people running the recruiting department right now, and they're setting up official visits. Kyle and I talk privately. We think some of the official visit reporting right now is a little silly, but as long as we like to put out there, this is very tentative. Like, don't think that just because someone set up an official visit 4 months in advance when it's really just like a soft verbal commitment of an official visit. Like, there's nothing really booked right now. But with it's just like putting something on a calendar. It's like, all right, we got you booked, tentatively, but things can change. Anyways, this is a huge one though. If it comes to fruition, Tiki Hola from Bastrop, Texas High School. Blue and Gold's reported he is coming to campus the weekend of June 20th. The nation's number 283 overall player, the number 31 defensive lineman, 6'2.5", 285-pound rising senior. This is a big one for the Fighting Irish, and I think it's coming down to 3 schools. Texas, Notre Dame's really involved in Texas this cycle. Holy crap. Texas, Notre Dame, and old friend Chad Bowden at USC. He was just at USC for their big junior day recruiting weekend, February 1st. He was at Notre Dame in late January, and then he recently said that Texas was at the top of his recruitment. Sometimes when recruits have told me that over the years, like top of my recruitment, I'm like, do you mean like number 1 school, or like they're at the top of the recruitment with other programs? Usually when I ask to recruit that question, they say the latter. I don't know what Hola was thinking when he said that to Chad Simmons, if it was the former or the latter, but still a big target for Notre Dame. And I think the Irish have as good of a chance with anyone as anyone with him. What do you think, Kyle?
Yeah, I've said before that it was my understanding before football season that Oregon was a team really sticking out to Tiki Hola, but I know their D-line class filled up pretty quick. I mean, it's not completely filled. They're still recruiting Tiki Hola, but yeah, it seems like, as you said, Texas, Notre Dame, USC battle. He was at USC, I think, last weekend, and he has scheduled an official visit with SMU, I think, sometime in the spring. So he'll get back to Dallas for a trip there.
Yeah.
But what I love about Tiki Hola's official visit is Notre Dame's going to get the last word, seemingly, if he wants to make a commitment before senior season, as many prospects do. Could definitely take this the distance into his senior year like Manfremo did. But I'm not going to hate Notre Dame having the last official visit here. And just talking to different people, it's my understanding Tiki Hola is a big-time target for Notre Dame. I think that was pretty apparent when a couple Fighting Irish staffers, ironically Chad Bowden, when he was at Notre Dame, went down there in early January to stop by his school. Then Notre Dame made it back down there again a couple weeks ago. So they've been to Bastrop, Texas twice to see Hola. Great Notre Dame fit. He's exactly what they're looking for on the defensive line and off the field. And it's they're going to have to hold off some pretty big time programs. So I think Notre Dame's definitely capable of winning this recruitment.
I want to go back to my rant on the Kelly thing because as I was just thinking about it, I don't know if I really hit the point that I wanted to make, is that Freeman did more. Like, Freeman and company did more than in one season than, like, I don't want to diminish what Kelly did at Notre Dame because he, like, I don't want to say revived the program, but he turned it into a winner again, like a consistent winner. So I don't want to diminish Kelly, but I still would say that Freeman did more in terms of taking Notre Dame to a peak than Kelly did in all those years. Like, yeah, you reached the national title game, you reached the college football playoff twice in the 4-team era, but didn't win any like major postseason games. A lot of people before him didn't do it either. But I mean, Freeman, Sugar Bowl, Orange Bowl, and even the IU, and so that's kind of the point. There is like, I don't know, people just like, oh, Chad Bowden's and Freeman's recruiting rankings were this, yeah, but it's a data point. Look what you've done on the field with those results, and look at the guys who are playing early now. Notre Dame playing so many true freshmen. I just wanted to kind of point that out, man. The GM, like Brady Quinn for general manager. It's such like a grinder job, you know, that I can't imagine someone like Brady Quinn wanting to do the day-to-day. You think like Brady Quinn wants to be, making sure that the recruiting department is, sending out letters and getting graphics together. Like, I don't see Brady Quinn wanting to do that. I just don't. I'm shocked that like Marshall Faulk wants to go be a position coach in the NFL. Like, this stuff is a grind. It's a grind. It's not like I would be like Brady Quinn. It would be great. It would be great, I'm sure. But it's not a glamorous, like, it's not a glamorous job. Is it awesome? Yes. But it's if I'm Brady Quinn, no thank you. I'm good. He's making a lot of money with Fox. You should keep doing that. So another visit that was set up was Gregory Patrick. So Notre Dame's got 3 interior offensive linemen already committed. Why not make it 4? Gregory Patrick locked in for June 13th weekend. Patrick is the nation's number 126 overall player, the number 8 interior offensive lineman, according to the On3 industry ranking, 6'4.5", 280 pounds. Man, yeah, how important these Michigan offensive linemen are for the Irish. In the 26 cycle, also have Ben Nichols and Sullivan Garvin committed from the Wolverine State. And, Patrick, I wasn't feeling great about Notre Dame's chances to land him. And then Joe Rudolph had a very important home visit with this key target last week. And I was told it just went very well. So Notre Dame, I think it's an Irish-Michigan battle. That's what I see at the end. Michigan State's also very much in the mix. But I see it being really between those two schools. Patrick's someone you've got to see in person before, Kyle. So I know you're plugged in on this recruitment. And he is expected to officially visit Notre Dame in the summer. And I reported on the OVs last night. I can't remember the other ones off the top of my head. I'll pull that up as you're talking, Kyle.
Yeah, I felt Notre Dame, Michigan battle for a while here. Michigan State's, been the sneaky contender considering his dad went to Michigan State. They've invested a lot of time recruiting him. But, Penn State's in the picture too. But in talking to Patrick, he's always made it pretty clear to me that he wants to play pretty close to home. He has a couple younger siblings. He still wants to be involved with their lives and have them, come to the games. And he wants to be able to go back home, easily and see them and that sort of thing. So that's why I think those 3 schools are sticking out. The other thing I'm going to be interested to see how this comes together, because Gregory Patrick, I'm pretty sure when I interviewed him, he might have brought this up without me even asking, but I think he went out of the way to pretty much tell me that like NIL is not going to be a factor in his recruitment. He does not care about NIL. And I found that interesting because Michigan has made it very apparent and very public that they are going to pay whatever it takes to get the top recruits on their board. And I can't imagine that Gregory Patrick wouldn't be one of those guys, considering he's a top 100 recruit. He's from the state of Michigan. I know watching Gregory Patrick in person that he is definitely one of the top offensive linemen in the class. So I'll be anxious to see if NIL does become a part of his recruitment. I don't think it will. And, a lot of people, get offended when you hear NIL and recruiting, but that's just the way it is now. Like, I hate to break it to you. But yeah, I don't. And so I'm kind of curious to see how that all comes together. And I'll say this, that back during the season, I did a story on like just kind of predicting all the recruits that I've seen in person, where they'll end up. I gave Michigan the edge. I think I called it like 51-49, as close as you could. And then after Notre Dame landed Tyler Merrill, I thought the Wolverines would 100% be able to close this down and get it done. But the fact that he's taken this the distance in the summer and that he's going to make an official visit to Notre Dame, there is a decent chance that I think he could wind up in Notre Dame's class.
Mm-hmm. Like that junior day that Notre Dame held on January 25th, I feel like that was really like the turn the page to that class. Like that is now the full focus. And we're seeing Notre Dame really build out its 2026 tight end board. Like I just think that Notre Dame and like some of these prospects we're talking about, like it's really starting to heat up now. And with Patrick, I didn't feel great about Notre Dame chances there, but now I just feel like with the Rudolph home visit, like things are starting to really move forward with 26 recruiting. Those 4 official visits for Gregory Patrick: Penn State May 30th, Michigan State June 6th, then Notre Dame and Michigan in the next consecutive weekend. So that's Gregory Patrick from Portage Northern, in the state of Michigan. One more to talk about here. And we've reported on a few more, and we will report on many additional official visits as these trips get planned. Loyola Blakefield, this is in the state of Maryland, cornerback Khary Adams. Is Notre Dame recruiting about safety, Kyle? Am I remembering that, or is it corner? Some of these
Corner's my
DB,
understanding.
okay. Yeah, it was a lot easier back in the day when you just had back in the day, like a year ago, a corners and a safeties coach, and it'd be a lot easier to remember just based on who's recruiting them. Mickens runs both, because sometimes there's corners or players that are listed at corner. Notre Dame's recruiting at safety or vice versa. But Khary Adams, his official visit to Notre Dame taking place that June 13th weekend, and there's another a defensive back who's visiting South Bend that weekend. You could you can learn more about him in an article that's Kyle Kelly published yesterday. And with Khary Adams, who, let me pull up his ranking again. The nation's number 130 overall player, number 11 cornerback in the 2026 On3 industry ranking. Notre Dame, Maryland, Penn State, those are the 3. You can just drop the top 10 schools list, but those are the main 3 schools that I am, kind of watching with Khary Adams recruitment. And I think Notre Dame's DB classes, especially at the corner position, has got really good potential. You got Chaz Smith committed, and that's going to be a battle until the end, in my opinion. But I feel like they're in the lead group with a lot of these guys at the corner position, Kyle.
Yeah, official visit for Khary Adams to Notre Dame, obviously. He also has one set to South Carolina, so there'll be a contender. Penn State in there as well. They always do a great job recruiting those prospects out of the Northeast. But his recruitment's pretty fascinating to me because before Notre Dame offered him, he only had about 5 offers, and I think some of those were like mid-major offers, non-Power 5 offers. Then he came to Notre Dame and camped, and we know how much Notre Dame loves their in-person evaluations, and Notre Dame extended an offer to him then. And since the end of his junior season, he is like completely blown up. That's why he decided to go with a top 10 list, because every school in the country is recruiting him, so he had to make it a little bit more manageable. And his recruitment's got to the point where 24/7 Sports considers him the number 2 cornerback in the entire class. And I know On3 is going to do 2026 class rankings overhaul here within the next few weeks, so I'll be curious to see where he ends up in the rankings. But obviously one of the top defenders in the secondary in the 26 cycle. I have not watched him play or like visit him or seen him in person, but just like seeing him on Notre Dame's campus, he's long, he's lean, exactly the type of cornerback that Mike Mickens covets. So not a surprise that Marcus Freeman and company were out to see him in the school last week, and that they pushed to get an official visit on the schedule for June.
Yeah, I just went through the cornerback list, and
Not as many as you think, Mike.
it really wasn't. It really
Yeah.
wasn't. I mean, there's a lot of safeties I feel like they're in a good spot for, but Joey O'Brien, Notre Dame's recruiting him at corner, if I remember correctly. You get a 6'4", 180-pound corner, right? Am I remembering that correctly?
Yeah, no, they are.
So Joey
It's
O'Brien,
confusing.
yeah. Kasani Giles from IMG Academy, Hakeem Satterwhite, Caden Harris. These are some of the big-time corners that they're after. But, yeah, for whatever reason, I thought they were in on more unless yeah. But
It could be.
Khary Adams is the one, though, that I feel like they're – I don't know. I like where Notre Dame's at with Khary Adams. Mickens is – he's simply tremendous. Kyle, do you remember the day that we did the recruiting show and talking about Al Golden and him leaving and the impact that is going to have on Notre Dame recruiting? I said there are two assistant coaches that if they leave, I feel like it damages Notre Dame the most. Dylan McCullough, in terms of recruiting, right? Dylan McCullough, he's tremendous. He is such a good identifier of talent and a superb recruiter. Dylan McCullough, I can't speak highly enough of it. And Mike Mickens. Recruits love Mike Mickens. If Mike Mickens stays, which we're expecting him to, but we also expected Dylan to stay. You just don't know what's going to happen. Like Dylan full on, I was told by good sources, planning to stay at Notre Dame, and then things happen. You get paid a ton of money to go work with Pete Carroll and Chip Kelly. A month ago, did Dylan Cullum expect that the Raiders were going to hire Pete Carroll and then sign Chip Kelly away from Ohio State for $6 million? No, he didn't. So things change. With Mickens expecting to stay, we'll see. Like Mickens, okay, with McCullough, it's like it's just a matter of time before he goes. Like the guy's a rock star. He's not going to just be the Notre Dame running backs coach forever. He's going to move on to other things. Like you make a ton more money, you want to go work in the NFL. Mickens, it just seems like a matter of time before he's a DC. So it's like borrowed time for him at Notre Dame, in my opinion. But as long as he is here, defensive back recruiting is going to be like outstanding for Notre Dame, and it really has. It is turned to the next level. Like talking about Notre Dame and where it's located, it's not the most attractive geographical place for defensive back recruits, but Mike Mickens makes it a very attractive school. The recruits absolutely love Mike Mickens. So as long as Mike Mickens is here, Notre Dame defensive back recruiting is in a great spot. If he does go, we'll see who they would get next, right? To my point earlier about the GM situation, really like the impact of losing someone, it really, like, you can't determine it until you see who they replace person with. But I'm kind of getting ahead of myself because Mickens, again, is planning on staying here. But a long-winded way to say Notre Dame's defensive back class is going to be really good if Mike Mickens is his coach.
Agreed.
Yeah. All right, cool. One offer I thought, Kyle, was really interesting. This one happened last night. So we talked about Gregory Patrick. Notre Dame's got its 3 offensive line committed. They would love to have Gregory Patrick to be a 4th. And they just keep firing out new offensive tackle offers. I think it's been 3 or 4 in the past couple weeks. Claude Mpuma from Chicago, Mount Carmel, teammates of, is Braden Jones at Mount Carmel, right? It's a USC commit. The Notre Dame would like to flip. And also, class of 2028 defensive lineman, the Bone Crusher, who Notre Dame also offered. I don't even remember his first and last name, but just remember he's the Bone Crusher. Jake, are you happy? The Bone Crusher. Notre Dame offered
Caleb Tucker.
6'5", 330-pound freshman in high school. So there you go. The Bone Crusher.
That kid is huge. I've seen him in person. He is ginormous. We need to check the birth certificate on him.
I am 12. So Notre Dame offers Claude Mpuma. This is just last night, Kyle. I had heard and I wrote down to include in my Lucky Charms note article. I should have done it. I forgot. to put earlier in the week, Notre Dame's tracking him. Joe Rudolph went to his school, really liked what he saw. So Notre Dame went ahead and offered 6'8", 260 pounds. Look at the rankings. 24/7 and Rivals has him a 3-star. On 3 is almost a 5-star for Puma right now. Screenshot it. I would bet my mortgage that Rivals and 247 both have this guy as a 4-star and like probably in their national rankings before signing day. I'd bet my mortgage on it. Go ahead, Kyle.
100%. Yeah, no, where's 24/7? Yeah, I know Alan True from 24/7 and the Midwestern Rivals guy have both been out to see him, I think, in Chicago, and I know they're both pretty impressed by him. He actually played his junior year in the Chicago Public League for Dr. Phillips, I think it was. Mike, yeah, hit the below his ranking where his other high school was. If you see that on his page there,
Phillips
hit that arrow.
Academy. Yeah.
Phillips Academy. Yeah, I always call it Dr. Phillips, but Dr. Phillips is down in Florida.
Yeah,
But
good memory.
yeah, so yeah, he's one that Notre Dame's been tracking for a while. Not many people really know, but he actually just started playing football last year. His junior year in 2024 was his first season. It's my understanding he didn't really even train or practice or anything with the football team long before the season started. I know he expressed some interest in possibly playing football and actually made an unofficial visit to Notre Dame last April for the Blue Gold game. I don't even know if he had like a recruit lanyard on or was considered a recruit when he visited, but it's my understanding that he was on campus and some sort of recruiting capacity or expressing interest in Notre Dame that day. So he's been on Notre Dame's radar for a while. They went by his old school, and went and saw him. And I was checking in on where Notre Dame stood for him during the season. They were tracking him. So not surprised once Rudolph saw him in person to extend the offer. This is going to be pretty interesting recruitment because it already is a national one. He'll have every offer you can think of. And Notre Dame continues to excel at landing Chicago recruits. And if they want to keep that pipeline going, I think landing Puma would be a definite an exclamation point on their efforts to keep getting the Windy City prospects to South Bend.
Kyle, I know you love the nitty-gritty and the nuance of recruiting. So I got something for you, and I don't know if you've heard this before about Notre Dame and their recruiting efforts. I was told that when it comes to prospects in Indiana and Illinois, specifically, like players who are in, hour and a half, 2-hour radius of Notre Dame, especially Chicago, fine tooth comb. They do not want a player who is maybe like a 3-star guy. And yeah, maybe he's not the sexiest prospect for Notre Dame to go sign. Like he's not gonna, the message boards and the Twitterverse isn't gonna go crazy. But he's like a 3-star guy, and he's gonna go to like an Iowa and be an All-American. Notre Dame does not want to let those players out of Chicago specifically, but also Indianapolis or in southern parts of the state of Indiana as well. They are like digging more and more into those prospects because they just do not want to let them out of their proverbial backyard. Notre Dame doesn't really have a backyard for recruiting like like a Miami or Texas or USC, where you have just loads of talent in a 30-minute radius of you, right? Just in your town. Notre Dame doesn't have that. But when it comes, again, especially to Chicago, they're like, we refuse to, like, your Joe Reefs and your Dom Hulaks of the world, they just won't let them. Like, they have to go get those kids. Like, they do not want to see Dom Hulak end up at Iowa or Northwestern or whatever and then go play in the NFL. Like, they want those kids at Notre Dame. So It seems like something that's obvious, but I don't think it was obvious. There was a stretch there late in the Brian Kelly era where I feel like Notre Dame was not doing much at all in Chicago. So, just gonna throw that out there.
With that said, I think they still need to do better recruiting those areas. They've done a good job at finding some of the under radar prospects, but in terms of like the elite guys from those areas, when you look at Damian Shanklin for example at Warren Central in Indianapolis, he's going to LSU, and then last cycle Nate Marshall, pretty much a 5-star guy, D lineman.
Those two examples, though, are not
No,
great.
I know they're not great, but just off the top of my head, just guys in general, I think some of the elite guys, 5-star type caliber players. I mean, we're seeing it right now with Braden Jones, who's verbally committed to USC. I think they need to get more of those top tier players from the areas, because they're certainly doing a fine job getting some of the under the radar guys.
Well, Kyle, I'm sure that the post live comments on this show will be very interesting. Very interesting. Brock Schott, yeah, I mean, that is definitely one. I mean, whether it's tight end or defensive end, like I thought he was a really good player. So with that, Notre Dame is going to do their like I said, with a fine tooth comb, they're going to go through it all. Maybe with Schott, they didn't offer for a reason, so they better feel comfortable with that evaluation. That's all I'll say. That's all I would say on him. I thought he was a good player, and I liked him a lot. Thought he was good at Irish Invasion a couple years ago. Folks, please hit the thumbs up on this video and subscribe to the Blue and Gold YouTube channel if you have not done so yet. Blueandgold.com is definitely your place to be for all things Notre Dame football and recruiting, basketball as well. Tyler and Jack do a great job covering the men and women's basketball programs. But yeah, that is going to do it for this show. Our next, let's see, Tim will be back with me next Tuesday. The plan, actually, we're going to be in Nashville. So I don't know what next week's going to look like for YouTube shows, specifically on Tuesday. But doing some traveling next week. The boys will be in Nashville. So I'll let you guys know. I'll tweet it out. But yeah, that's going to do it for this show, though. Hit the thumbs up. I really appreciate everyone tuning in. The comments on this one will certainly be interesting. Hit the thumbs up, folks. We'll catch you next time.